Learned to play an instrument. Learned a second language. Applied to college. Applied for a loan. Started a business. Started a blog. Shared a picture. Shared a moment. Turn your wish list into a checklist with Internet Essentials from Comcast. When you're connected, you're ready for anything.
Hello, I'm Ivan Weiner, Executive Director of the Albuquerque Film and Music Experience. Welcome to AFMX 2020, the virtual edition. As COVID-19 impacted so many festivals around the world, we are very fortunate and happy to be able to present an incredible program, thanks to our sponsors and our volunteers. Because of them, we're able to continue our tradition of bringing together filmmakers, musicians, students, and an entire community to share stories and collaborate into the future. This year we have 73 incredible film projects, with filmmakers doing live Q&As after their screenings. We also have our Intimate Conversation series that we'll be offering for free through Facebook Live. Please go to our website, abqfilmx.com, get your tickets for all of the events, see where you need to go for the free ones, and share with all of your friends on social media. It's going to be a week to remember. You can also make a small contribution through the ticketing pages for any of the events to the AFME Foundation. Finally, I'd like to thank our core team of staff members and volunteers who have worked so hard to bring the virtual experience to life. Kira, Ariella, Carly, Cindy, Shane, Sabrina, Barbara, Jerry, Sean, and Sam, this fest is for you. And it's for all of the volunteers who have contributed over the past 8 years of AFMX. From all of us at the Albuquerque Film and Music Experience, thank you. Now, let's fest.
All right, hello everyone. Welcome to Albuquerque Film and Music Experience's conversation series with casting directors Elizabeth Gabel and Lorrie Latham. Quick introduction. Elizabeth is one of the top most well-respected casting directors, known for working on many television and film productions, including Logan, The Space Between Us, and True Grit. Also joining us is Lorrie Latham, another incredibly talented and well-respected casting director, known for her work on The Brave, Godless, Transcendence, and many more. These two powerhouse women have set the standard by which many studios come to New Mexico for amazing talent and a job well done. And I'm also incredibly thrilled to be facilitating this conversation because I started in the background community. So welcome, ladies.
Thank you. We're happy to be here.
Thanks.
Great. I'd also like to remind everyone who's watching to drop your comments into the Facebook live chat for Lorrie and Elizabeth to answer during the last 20 minutes of our conversation. And today we only have an hour, so we'll be focusing on testing, going electronic for all of the background paperwork, and the general plan for following COVID guidelines on set. So our opening question today is, from the perspective of the background actor's daily routine of arriving on set, going through hair and makeup, and arriving and holding, what can the background actor expect to be different, and what can they expect to be the same?
I think starting off, everyone will have to be tested before they come, and it will be different for each production. Some productions will require only one test. Other productions may require 2 tests. There will be a lot of social distancing. There may be some quarantining as well. Lorrie, do you have anything to add?
I think just overall to expect everything to take a little more time, be patient. I think people who work, who are scheduled to work about 5 days will probably be tested 3 times a week. What I've heard is there will be a pre-test this is for Roswell. So there'll be a pre-employment test, and then that'll be about 3 days before you work, and then a rapid test, maybe I think either 24 or 48 hours before you come to work. And then if you're scheduled to work a full week, you will be testing about 3 times a week.
All right. And is there a way that background can be productive or proactive for their own well-being?
I think it, yeah, it would be good to be proactive in that. Just be careful, don't go to parties. Uh, be careful who you hang out with. Wear your masks prior so that you don't test positive, obviously. Don't go out and get a test until we call you, because it may be, it may be that it might be a week. We'll call you a week before you work, so then we'll tell you, well, then you need your test on Thursday. You don't want to get a test prematurely. If we ask you to get a test, you should ask the casting director, and this is most likely that, do I get paid for that time? And you should get either a fitting check or a quarter check for your test, for your time. So that's something that you should remember. Lorrie, do you have anything to add?
I believe on Roswell, and I still haven't started work. I start work tomorrow, but I believe that we will tell you. We'll have a compliance officer, a COVID-19 person, but I believe Roswell's going to be paying for 4 hours for the test, and I'll confirm that. But that's the latest that I heard. And again, like Elizabeth said, just don't take the initiative on your own, because I think they'll have to have documentation. So just, be patient and know that in order to work, you will be tested, and but don't do it on your own.
All right. So we've been getting a lot of questions from the background community about preparation, rules, guidelines, etc. So we want to ask, bottom line, what would be the top things that you as casting directors would recommend background actors should have accomplished for all sets? Whether it's bringing hand sanitizer or an expectation.
So training, I think we will have training. We'll wait till we hear from our compliance officers what they're going to do for that particular production. It may be that we'll run a Zoom training. It may be that we might get training out of the film commission. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. That's just not a known. So as soon as Lorrie and I know how to get your training, we will put that up on our Facebook pages, and like with Lorrie on her blog. And Lorrie and I discussed this yesterday. You should always have, I would bring multiple masks. I would always make sure your masks are clean. Don't keep wearing the same mask over and over. Bring hand sanitizer. Bring wipes with you. We will have PAs on the set that the compliance officer will be over them to make sure that they're wiping down the tents, the stuff in the tents, the bathrooms. But it's always good to have your own stuff.
Do you have any insight on this also, Lorrie? Anything that you've heard from Roswell as they start up?
I haven't heard specifics yet. I do want to let people know that I am going to be maintaining my blog with COVID information, and we'll post it, I guess, maybe somewhere on this screen. You can post that, Carly. As I get information, the only information I have right now is they have specific types of masks that they're going to be requiring, and I've posted that on the blog. But as I get information, hopefully this week, I start tomorrow, I'll have some very specific points that I can post on it, so that people can be prepared.
All right. So we here at AFMX will post a link to your blog in the discussion chat at the end of this.
Okay.
All right, moving forward, and everyone who's dropping questions, would just like to acknowledge you, and we will be answering them in the last 20 minutes. So right now we need to talk about going electronic for all paper. I know we discussed briefly the RAB system and something called white paper, right?
Yes. Elizabeth, do you want to take that?
The white paper is was written in July by a lot of the producers in Hollywood, in LA. They got together, and the white paper is available online. It is available on Lorrie's blog, and it just lists some of the expectations of going back into production about, making sure that you social distance as much as you can, about the people who actually work with the actors, what they're required to do, and it's interesting. It's a long read. You don't have to read all of it because some of it doesn't pertain specifically to background, and so that's what the white paper is. As far as the electronic vouchers go, I think I'm going to let Lorrie talk about RABs because she's used it, but we will send that out prior to the day that you work, and you fill as much as you can out electronically before you come to work. And then we have to have that and check it on the back end.
Yeah, so anyone who worked on, Daybreak is familiar with RABs. It's a great tool. I know the background loved it, and actually we can post it. We'll text people, email people. You'll get a link to fill out. Basically, you'll fill out all the I-9 information, the W-4 information, and as soon as we get lists, we can send those out, Elizabeth. It doesn't have to be the night before, so you have a little bit of time to fill out your voucher, like doing the long form when you come in and you have to do all that paperwork.
I-9s and the W-2s. And
yeah, so you'll be able to do that in advance. We'll have to wait and see how they're going to verify I-9s, because I know on Daybreak we were able to verify it online. You would upload a picture of your driver's license, your social security card, and we would check that. But they may require us to actually do that in person, or someone to do that in person, the PA checking people in. But it is a really simplified version. I know everyone who worked on Daybreak loved it because you have information on your phone. It's text, and so it's going to be helpful. And we can also use that to post updates as far as what's going on with COVID and any updated safety and health and safety tips. Elizabeth's going to be using RABs. We're going to be using a digital software, digital voucher provided by Elevate. So it's going to be a little bit different. So people who have used RABs just know that it's going to be similar, but it will have its own little specific ways to load information, which may be different.
Okay. And so I actually worked on a closed set during quarantine. There were only 3 people, and we did have a COVID safety officer on set. And so one thing I wanted to ask is we all had to sign paperwork that was related to COVID and answer questions about whether we had been traveling or out and about, or if we felt sick. Can background actors expect something like that as part of their start paperwork?
I would expect it. We haven't been specifically told that we're going to do that. And I think that's going to be from production to production. But yeah, I would expect it. So like Lorrie says, come a little early to get your paperwork done. Remember, your call time is not when you arrive on set. Your call time is when you go to the wardrobe department. That's literally when you're starting work. So if you come early, and I think what they'll do is they'll spread out the call times a lot more. We won't have these big crushes at the beginning. They'll have like 25 people come in, and then 20 minutes later another 25. So you may have like really weird call times like 2:12 or 4:16 or something odd like that. And it's best if you show up, you're ready to go to wardrobe at that call time. So I think to be flexible, I mean, that's our business. Be flexible because you never know what they're gonna pull out on us. Lori?
Um, I sort of second everything Elizabeth said. I know with RABs, if people had an older phone, uh, we we had iPads there. I don't know how much we're going to be able to be on set. I know on Roswell they're encouraging Jill and I to stay home, and they'll have the set PA checking in a lot of the background. But if you don't have an upgraded phone or a smartphone, or if you're having issues, there will be ways around that. There will be an iPad there. Hopefully, again, we're just guessing on a lot of this because we're not actually in production yet.
And to reiterate, even if you do electronically have a picture of your driver's license and social, you should bring it anyway. Because legally, we have to see it. That's the law. We have to see it. So it's better safe than sorry for us and for you to have it with you. So don't assume, like, even if you've done it electronically, don't assume that we have everything, because there's often a lot of things that go wrong.
That's a great point to add. Yeah, I think people should keep that in mind. And that is definitely an assumption that would be easy to make if you did fill out all of your paperwork early. So we're going to make a small transition here. It's a question that we received earlier during our festival. And it's, how do older performers / background actors deal with the casting environment as well as being in a higher risk category for COVID? And this would apply to people with immune deficiencies as well.
Well, I think you have to carefully consider if you want to be exposed. If you think that you're at risk, then don't come. Just don't do background. You're going to be put in a riskier situation than sitting at home. Having said that, we're going to take as many precautions as we possibly can. There will be social distancing, and take vitamin D. It's been well proven that vitamin D kind of prevents COVID. So I would recommend that. You can look it up online for yourself. Don't overdose on it, certainly, but take, a little bit of vitamin D. That helps a lot. But if you feel at risk, don't come, because we need you to be there and be able to step in when we need you. And if you're saying, no, I'm not comfortable with that, then let somebody else have the spot who isn't immune. Unfortunately, this is the time we live in, and I think you have to be responsible a lot for your own self too.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's sort of up to the person. If there are plenty of people who are older who are super healthy, and I would just say it's got to be up to you and how healthy you feel and how much you want to risk being on set with a lot of people.
Right. And then also, Elizabeth, you mentioned vitamin D. That leads into my next question, is about craft services. So we know that craft services is going to change. We started to see that before going into quarantine, having someone actually hand out things for craft service rather than allowing people to come in and take what they want. So what can background actors expect for craft service during this pandemic and being on set?
Well, I think they'll certainly be more strict about serving only things that are wrapped already. Of course, I have full confidence in our craft service people in New Mexico. We have some outstanding crew in that department, and I'm sure they will keep everything as clean as possible. As far as one of the questions was, are they going to serve meals that are going to boost our immune system? I think that's asking a little much. If you think you need meals that are specifically built to, build as building your immune system, bring it with you. I think craft services, and, it may be that we'll get, box lunches, and craft services will not be open containers like we usually do, So I think we can expect it to be probably a little less variety, and boxed lunches, and it's not going to be as opulent as it used to be, but it's COVID. We have to accept a few things. Lori, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I just agree. I mean, we really don't know because we haven't been on set. I've talked to a few background who are working on them, and it did sound like it was similar. I mean, they have an area, and I'm sure that they're just wrapped. Everything's going to be individually wrapped, but I don't know. I mean, we'll start shooting on Roswell October 19th. So really, until then, I'll get updates, and I'll be updating the blog, but I just don't know. I mean, it's just going to be what makes sense, hopefully.
All right. What about social distancing? I know right before going into quarantine, Vengeance had a rather large background, and we were splitting them between groups of 50. Are you expecting there to be large groups of background, or are we only going to be hiring smaller groups for different sets?
Well, for my Netflix projects that will start hiring in November, we're only going to be shooting exterior scenes before Christmas. Back in the spring, we'll go to the larger scenes, but they will be much smaller scenes, and we will only be shooting exteriors. And as far as social distancing, I mean, I think that's something we'll just determine on set. I mean, the ADs are going to be very conscious of that, and I think when they set background, it'll look sparser than it would normally.
Yeah, and I know that Roswell, I don't have specific numbers, but they will cut back numbers. And so it's not going to be as heavy as it was last season. I mean, last season we hired hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people, but we'll just have to see. I mean, technically everybody will have been tested, so hopefully people will be safe, but I know that they'll take precautions.
Okay. And Elizabeth, I have a note here from you. What can background actors do when they can't physically distance on set? Did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Well, I think I agree with Lori. You're going to be tested, and so after your test, be careful. Don't go to parties. Don't go rushing down. Even we do a lot of outdoor dining here. Even I would say avoid outdoor dining until after you finished. If you have to go into quarantine, there is one show that is quarantine extras right now, and you will get paid idle days. So if you get quarantined, you will get paid, but it'll only be an 8-hour day. But I think New Mexicans are smart, background are smart. Sanitize your hands. If you have a cough, just let us know. We don't want to put you in a position where other people are not going to want to be close to you. And especially for exterior, I don't think you have as much to worry about, but I think it's just common sense. And that's going to be, I mean, I think the ADs are going to know, and they're probably already planning on how to set background to make it look more dense than it really is.
When you say idle days, are you expecting a full 2-week quarantine or something less?
I don't expect that my Netflix project will quarantine anyone. But once you've had your test, if they might decide to quarantine, especially stand-ins, I think they might think about that. So it wouldn't be like a 2-week pre-quarantine. It would be a quarantine while you're shooting after you've already proved you don't have it, so that you don't go out and get it. We don't want you running to the bars, and we don't want you going to see a sick relative, even if it's not even COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Lori, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I doubt that Roswell will do the sequestering thing. I haven't heard any of that. So it would remain to be seen, but I don't anticipate having people be paid for hold days.
So it would be safe to assume that it's production to production. and to not expect it.
That's what I think. Yeah. I mean, I haven't heard that. The only one I've heard that for is the show that's going on right now where they've sequestered people.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it depends on how many days you work, honestly. It just depends. Like if you're only working 2 days, you're not going to get quarantined. You're not going to be sequestered. But
Right. What about cleaning props and personal equipment?
well, I think that'll be up to the props master to clean it before you get it. I strongly suggest that's why you bring wipes. I'd clean it again. It doesn't hurt to clean it again. And if you can't find wipes, I mean, they're getting to be, you can find them now. You can make your own wipes. If you get alcohol and mix 70% or more, 90% alcohol is best, but you can do 70% and add like 2/3 alcohol, 1/3 aloe vera. You can create your own wipes and just put it in a baggie with paper towels, and that'll and that's a very effective wipe, just as effective as ones you can buy. So if you're really concerned about it, I would definitely bring wipes. I would definitely bring hand sanitizer and use it often. Use it every time you use a prop, before you use a prop, after you use the prop. Anytime you personal equipment that's your own, or extras aren't going to be handling a lot of equipment on set, but if you are asked to, clean it before you use it, clean it after you use it.
Okay. Do either of you have any insight into what the holding areas will look like? Will they be indoors, outdoors? Will there be a limit on the people inside?
I don't have any insight on it. I would assume that it'll be a little bit bigger. I mean, as we're getting into the colder season, it can't be outside. I would just encourage people, if they're hired, to bring warm gear. Just really prepare for any temperature. But I would assume it'll be similar. It'll be enclosed. There'll probably be a fan, but just prepare for the worst.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I doubt we'll be using lunch boxes. We'll probably go back to using tents for holding, because you can social distance in tents better than you can in lunch boxes.
Right. And do you have any insight into whether background will have full days, or if their times will be more staggered so that they're showing up on set as they're needed, or if there will be a lot of sitting around time?
I don't know. I mean, I would guess that there's going to be a lot more sitting around. I mean, I think it's just easier when you have people there in case they want to shoot, and just to practice distancing. But I would plan on still sitting around, not showing up, shooting your scene, and then leaving. I would not expect that at all.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree 100% with Lorrie. ADs hate to let extras go because they never know when they're going to need them, and they're not going to cut somebody and then say, I need that person, to say, oh, you cut them. So mm-hmm. I think you should expect to be there in holding, and like Lorrie says, prepare, bring blankets, bring pillows, just be prepared and be flexible.
And just remember that we're all sort of learning this together, even the ADs. People who, like Roswell, I mean, they haven't shot since March. So it's just, I would just encourage everyone to be patient and realize that we're all kind of starting from zero on this, new way of shooting. And, if you feel like if there's things that don't seem right, if you're in holding and you're not getting attention or water, you just really need to speak up and communicate, because I think there's going to be a lot of focus on what's going on set, and we just need to remind people, if the background are being neglected, just speak up. I mean, don't get mad, but just say, hey, we haven't gotten water. We just realize that we're all sort of learning this from zero going forward, and hang in there, because it's going to be like this for a while, is what I'm guessing.
Yeah. And one thing you have to remember is that Lori and I are probably not going to be on set. We've always both made it a real point to be on set and to check in on you guys, check in on craft services, and if the PAs are having a problem, if you're having a problem, we're not going to be able to come because I've already been pretty much told I'm going to work only from home. I'm not even going to be going into the office. So if you have a problem that you don't feel is being resolved, please feel free to call us. I don't mind a bit. I'll try to deal with it from my office, and we'll try to get it resolved. We want to work with you. We want you to feel safe. We want you to have a good time still. I mean, the whole point of doing this is so that we have a good time. So don't get angry. Just say, yeah, I'm going to call Lori and Elizabeth, and we're just going to touch bases. I mean, don't call me for Roswell, but on my project, you can call me. If you have a problem on Roswell, I'll just sit there and say, oh, that's too bad. I'm so sorry.
Absolutely. So we're going to make a small transition again and refocus on casting and auditions. Do you have any advice to offer to our background community during this time?
Well, I think, we always do meet and greets for extras. Casting, you're going to be doing, for actual casting, it'll all go to, which is really good for the actor, is that you film it and send it in. Because then if you don't have a good audition, you can just keep working on it until you've done a good job. They will probably, if you actually get a callback, the director may not be in the room with you, which is unusual. The director likes to be in the room for the callbacks, and there will be a plexiglass shield between you and the casting director. So be prepared for that for auditions. For background, which is our primary. I mean, both Lori and I cast speaking roles occasionally, but our primary is background. Make sure you have good pictures. Don't, really, everything is going to be, instead of meet and greets, everything's going to be done by picture pics. And a lot of times we're dependent on you to send us photos. And we've always tried to emphasize no hats, no sunglasses. Please, please, please do not send me a picture with a filter on it. It will go immediately in my trash if you send me a filtered picture. Make sure they're in focus, well lit. So that we can see, and do not send me like, oh, here are 4 people and I'm the one in the middle. Send it just like what you see, chest to head, and include your height, your weight, and sometimes, like for Lori, sometimes the wardrobe wants to know your real sizes, not your pretend sizes. I'm really a size 2, but no, you're really a size 7. So you send us your sizes so that wardrobe can spend the least amount of time with you as possible. And wardrobe was going to be a complicated issue. I'm not exactly sure how we're going to work that out. I think that will be project per project. Mine is a period piece, so we will have to have fittings at some point. So send as much information. Make sure you send your contact. If you're doing it for a minor, please don't forget the minor's name. I can't tell you how many parents send, oh, this is my beautiful, wonderful, lovely 4-year-old child, and I have no idea if it's a boy or a girl, and they don't send me their name. Because at that point they have cute hair and all that. But anyway, so that's my suggestion.
Yeah, I agree with everything Elizabeth said. I think children, we're not going to be hiring as many minors. I know Roswell hardly ever hires minors, but I think it's even going to go down more. Again, just the filters, don't do a filter. I mean, we all would love to have our filtered look as we walk around in person, but just no filters. And for me, I'm asking people just to register on the website, because email, I mean, you can email us, but also register, just because we get so many emails and I don't want to miss people. The best thing is to register on the website, create a profile. So that we can find you if we need to find you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Elizabeth.
Yeah, and for those of you who've known me a long time, I had to close my website because it was so old that I really honestly couldn't rescue it. The programs that were back in 2010 just couldn't be supported anymore. So I do ask for photos, but remember our last casting call that Lorrie and I did, we had 2,000 people show up. And in addition to that, for my project, I got an additional 800 emails. So if you haven't heard from me or from Lorrie, I mean, it took me 2 weeks just to sort through all that. And then I sent who I felt would be appropriate to the director before we shut down and never heard from anybody. So if you don't hear from us, be patient. Really, really be patient. I don't mind if you re-email me. I don't have a problem with that at all. As a matter of fact, it helps me to know, an updated photo, and I really recommend in October, end of October, that you guys start sending me updated photos and at castingabq@gmail. And so, the first, be patient with us as we work through it too. And don't think we're ignoring you. We're not. You would be surprised how much we do behind scenes to push you guys. I have so many people saying, well, you didn't push me. I go, oh no, I did. The director just didn't choose you. And that you have to understand, especially in my project, every single extra will be chosen not just by the director but by the producers. It will be, and the hair. First, they have to pass a hair test. The hair will look at everybody's pictures, and if they say okay, I like their hair is okay, then those are the ones I said to the director. Hair has to approve them first. So remember, there are multiple steps to getting cast, even just for background.
So going from that, is there anything that you and Lorrie are specifically looking for, anything else as casting directors that you would like to share?
I would. I'm going to be starting a project. I'm starting Roswell, but I'm also starting another project mid-October, around October 22nd. We're going to be looking for Native Americans, specifically Navajo, for a project that we'll be shooting in Santa Fe, but also in the Four Corners area, Gallup. So if you guys know people in Gallup, Native Americans, we're going to be, and we'll announce it as soon as we can, but a really fun project. It's a period project set around the 1920s, which also has some elements of the Spanish flu. So there will be masks that would be appropriate for the background, wearing them in the scenes, which is going to help us. But yeah, looking forward to that, and we'll keep everybody posted on that project.
Okay. And then before we start our Q&A, one last question, and this is from the background perspective. What can we do while we wait, and how can we further the industry as we wait for more productions to come back?
I'm going to say something a little controversial. Lose weight. I know it sounds so harsh, but honestly, like for my project, it's 1980s, and if you go back and look at 1980s people, they were a lot thinner than they are now. We have so many people that apply, and we want to hire everybody, but remember, you have to fit the wardrobe, and especially for a period piece like Lorrie's doing, where it's 1920s. Really, truly, that is an issue. It is my biggest issue, is people who are so overweight I can't get them into wardrobe. And so you have to be cognizant. Your body is your product. That's what you're selling. And it sounds coarse and it sounds crass, but that's the reality. Women should be, a size 8 is considered large in this world. So it's not easy, but being fit and is really important in this industry.
Yeah, I agree. Especially for this project, it's going to be lots of thin Native Americans for the 1920s look.
All right, and now we'll be getting into the Q&A. So I would like to remind our audience that if you drop your questions into the Facebook chat, we will be answering those. And I apologize if I mispronounce anyone's name. So our first question comes from Tara Levine. Will a five, oh, and this goes back to the quarantine question for background. It's, will a 5-day or more need a pod type living or quarantine?
Again, we don't know yet.
Okay.
I'm guessing on Roswell, I would say almost certainly not.
All right. Let's see. Zachary is asking, are production companies going to cover the testing?
I think testing in New Mexico is free now, isn't it? Anyway, if they require a test, that's definitely a question you should ask, but I don't think you get charged for a test.
What about, oh, yes, that was our user experience director, Melody Carlisle. She said that that testing is free throughout the state, and that there are several locations that are set up. I guess I'm also wondering for myself though. So we talked about background actors getting tested on their own beforehand after they hear from you. But what if they have to have a second or a third test? Will that be provided on set, or is it up to the background actor themselves to follow up with their own follow-up tests?
I think that Roswell, if they're requiring it, they're going to monitor that in some way, would be my guess. Again, I just don't know exactly the specifics yet. Elizabeth?
Well, I agree with Lori. We don't really know yet. I am thinking because you can get a rapid test at Balloon Fiesta. I'm thinking you will just have to go to Balloon Fiesta on your own, but like Roswell's paying a 4-hour check. And we would, obviously you would get a voucher for that, for 2 to 4 hours. So you'd be paid for the test, but I don't think there's any cost even for the rapid tests in New Mexico.
Okay. And our next question is from Dean Updike. Wondering if anyone during a shoot tests positive for COVID, will that cause production to shut down or cause another impact?
I think it depends on who it is. If it's a background person, I doubt that it would, honestly. If it's the main actor, yes. If it's an assistant director who's been running around all over the place, I would say yes. But there again, we just, it's a situation by situation environment.
Right. And we have a question from Joanna Lowry. She says, how much of BG background will be cut from hiring on future projects?
I think that's going to depend on the production. I do expect numbers to go down, but I think we just don't know exactly what percentage.
Okay. And a question from Julian's list. Oh, we got a list of questions from Julian, who is a casting assistant for Sandy Lessie. And one of the questions that he brought up is, due to COVID, will BG only show up for their specific scenes, or will they be sitting around for most of the day? Oh, and I believe we did address this earlier.
I think they'll be there as long as the ADs can keep them, even if their scene is already shot, because that's typically what we do.
Mm-hmm. What about stuff in the holding tents? Because we were talking about that. Like, I know pens are reused a lot. Do you recommend that background add that to their arsenal of things to bring?
I think that's a great idea to bring, just sort of have your little bubble, although they're, we'll just have to wait and see, because I know some productions don't want you to bring a lot of things. So again, I would encourage people to check my blog, and as I know information, at least for Roswell, I'll keep it updated on that site.
Okay. And next question is from John McGara. He says, we just got our real IDs. It was a total hassle. Are you going to require real IDs at any time soon?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay. Joanna Lowry is asking, also, what about the projects that we were booked on prior to the shutdown? Oh, sorry, I've lost the question.
Both of my productions, Evil was canceled, and The Cleaning Lady was also sort of put on an indefinite hold. I haven't heard anything about it, so I would assume that it's been scratched until who knows when.
Okay. If
And
there
as
were,
far as I go, I hadn't hired anybody yet.
okay. If there was a project though that was in the middle of filming before quarantine happened, and they did have regular background, and you did hire those people right before going into quarantine, will you be reaching out to those same people, or will you be hiring a new round of background actors?
Well, it depends on the scenes that they're shooting. If they are picking up scenes where they need those people, we would definitely, absolutely contact them first to see if they're available. So if they're already established, yes, we would want them. We're not going to start, if they've already got film and they can, then they're going to want to match it as much as they can if it's required. Sometimes, it just is, again, it's going to be on a project by project basis.
All right. And here's a fantastic question from Claire Bear. She says, will we have to walk to set so that we're not all packed in the van? Is that a production question?
Yeah, it's a production question, and it's so, if they have to van people, we'll have them sit, maybe 3 people to a van. I mean, there's ways that we'll solve, and that's why, like Lorrie says, you have to be fluid, flexible.
Okay. And then I'm assuming that masks will be the same as jackets, right, for background, right before you start filming, and they come through and they grab everyone's jackets. Do you think it'll be the same for masks? That background will have their masks on, and then when they start filming, everyone will take them off?
Yeah, I would assume you would take your own mask off and put it in your back pocket or put it into a pocket. I know sometimes the costumers come and grab those, and I would assume that they won't be, it's going to be as touch-free as possible.
Okay. Is there anything that you ladies want to add that we haven't covered yet?
Oh, let me check my notes.
I think I would just reiterate, I've posted the white paper on my blog. If people want to read it, I mean, it basically goes through the information that we've gotten. Most of it's come from that white paper. It's there's a link on the blog, and you can download it, or you can go to sagafter.org, and it's posted there to read it. And it basically goes over everything that's sort of the industry. It's a protocol for the industry, so it'll give you an idea of exactly what the productions are required. And so it's a great resource. It's really long, but you can go through and you can search different topics. It's a lot of information.
Yeah,
very helpful.
That sounds like a fantastic resource.
I think there's one thing you should be aware, that the production, according to the white paper, is required to have hand washing stations and hand sanitizer stations in convenient and critical areas. And so it's just like when you go to the grocery store, make sure that before you go on set, you wash your hands or you hand sanitize, and then when you leave, you wash your hands and hand sanitize. So you should have those things available to you. If they're not, mention it to the PA, ask them where are the hand washing stations, and they'll direct you to it. But I think you'll find that there will be more things available to you than normal for sanitary situations. But again, like Lorrie has emphasized, bring your own wipes, bring your own hand sanitizer, bring your own masks, and just be flexible.
And we have a new question from Stephanie Ann Hill. She asks, do you know how wardrobe is going to conduct business via COVID-19? For example, how clean and sanitized can we expect the wardrobe items that we will be provided to wear to be?
Well, we're guessing. But I'm guessing that they will, we do have some very good wardrobe departments in New Mexico, and I'm sure that they will not give you dirty clothes to wear. The question is between, like if you wear the same thing for 2 days, which is very often the case, they do have sanitizer that they spray it with. Because they do have to hang it on the racks. And honestly, we don't know how they're going to manage it yet. We don't know. And also too, I think that also will be determined production to production.
Mm-hmm.
Lorrie?
Yeah. The production that's going to be shooting up in the Four Corners area, we had a meeting a few days ago, and they did request that the crew wear different clothes every day, wear different jackets, clean those clothes, clean those jackets, just because, as Elizabeth told me, the virus can live for like 12 hours, which is incredible. But I don't know that the productions would tell people, you must wash your clothes. But I think for your own safety, if you have to wear the same outfit, maybe spray it with whatever it is that costumes has, or alcohol based. But that production up there is asking the crew to wear different clothes, clean clothes every day, clean jackets every day, just to be safe.
Is there a way that background actors can help both of you as casting directors as the productions begin to ramp up?
I think just following just common sense, everything that's been out since March, and you wash your hands, wear a mask, socially distance. It's just sort of, I know we're all sick and tired of hearing that, but that's what's going to get us through this dreadful disease, hopefully. Mm-hmm. I mean, it does sound like a broken record, but there is proof that wearing masks works. And we just have to do it. Nobody likes it. We know that. We don't like it. I don't like to wear a mask, but you just have to. I mean, it's just going to be how we can get through and move forward and get back to hopefully a semi-normal set life.
Right. And then we have a question here from Davy Camille Wigger. And they're asking, so from your perspective as casting directors, the question, this chat keeps disappearing. How will the film industry be affected after such a drop in production? Again, from your perspective as casting directors.
So what was it again, Carly? Could you just repeat that?
Yeah, of course. How will the film industry be affected after such a drop in production?
I think it will take a long time to come back. When we first went into lockdown, I didn't think that, but I'm thinking it now. Like Lorrie says, she already lost 2 projects that we're going to shoot, and we're going to bring money to the state that aren't coming. We always knew Roswell was going to come back. So production has slowed down considerably. People have lost money. I remember in 2008, before 2008 and that economic crash, we were going gangbusters. We were getting all the 200 and 250 million projects here. It actually never came back to that level ever, even before COVID. We were never back to that level. So I do think production will slow down, especially for extras because the numbers are being cut. It will be more competitive. So once again, getting into good physical condition, is important. I think it's really good to stay connected to all the different Facebook people so you can get feedback from them. But I would expect it to slow down. Lori, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it just seems like such a huge task now to produce a film that it's until we can kind of get it down pat, it's probably going to slow down. I mean, I think it's great that New Mexico has remained pretty, we haven't had these gigantic death rates. So I think that works to our advantage. I think that's attractive. But the more people we bring in, then we have a higher, rate of possible infection. But I agree with Elizabeth, probably, unfortunately. But hopefully, we just we'll get. I think we will get work. It just may not be as crazy as it was.
Yeah. And hopefully we'll get. We don't know when we're going to get a vaccine. We just don't know. But I go get the flu vaccine every year anyway. So if we do get a vaccine, I think you should get it because until then, we're not going to go into normal production.
Right. And we have another question from Maximiliano Martinez. They're asking, since it's been a while since photos have been submitted and looks may have changed, when should backgrounds start sending in updated photos to be considered for the projects that are restarting?
Now. I would say now. I think we're going to be inundated. So update on my website, email Elizabeth. I try not to use Facebook a whole lot, but now I probably will be using it more just because we can't talk to people in person. So just, I would say submit as soon as possible. Don't you think, Elizabeth?
I would like people to submit maybe in 2 weeks, in 2 weeks to castingabq@gmail. And then Lori's site is Latham, Latham casting.com.
Great. And it looks like we have time for one last question. It's coming from Joe Dooley. And he's asking, do you think videos will be used more for background casting?
I do not know.
No.
Maybe for stand-ins, perhaps.
Well, for submissions, Joe, is that what you're asking?
I think that is what he's asking.
I doubt it. I mean, videos are so hard to wade through unless the director is asking. I know Catherine does a lot of auditioning for her projects, but I wouldn't. I hope we don't, and I don't anticipate that because it's very time consuming.
Yeah, I can tell you from experience that if you send a video, the director knows within 2 or 3 seconds whether he is interested or not. So videos they're not going to give you any great advantage over a photo.
All right. And I would also like to let both of you know that it looks like you both are receiving a lot of thanks and praise from the background community in our chat room. So thank you so much for joining us and being a part of our virtual festival.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Carly. And we miss you guys. We miss you. We wish we could see you face to face.
We miss you, and virtual hug, everybody. Thanks, Carly.
Thank you both. Yeah, and so I'd like to shout out to the audience. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for supporting AFMX. This was our first year doing this film festival virtually, and we've had a couple very small hiccups, but so far it's gone really well. And so we're incredibly pleased with all our speakers and, of course, for our audience for supporting us. All right. Bye.
Bye, everybody.